Yo, hello. We're going to be talking about the Series 1 metagame right now. Notably, if you don't know, Series 1 VGC ladder has ended yesterday. The ladder will be going live again at the end of the day today. So we're going to be going over some of the top teams from the ladder, and we're going to be using Liberty Note to kind of get an easier short through of that, right? Because Liberty Note always does compile all these teams and stuff. So it's just going to be easier to talk about like that. Of course, some people don't choose to reveal their teams, but most people do, so we can go over it as such. Notably here, you'll notice a lot of Dundozo Tatsugiri. An interesting, one of the core adjustments here is actually Dundozo Tatsugiri using the stretchy form, so that they can have the speed boost instead. And you also see defense Tatsugiri there too, and an attack Tatsugiri from Kyodol, and there's a lot of Dundozo Tatsugiri at the top of the ladder, which I think shouldn't really surprise anyone. Dundozo Tatsugiri is a composition that really just has a lot of pure power to it, and if you're able to just take away enough threats, you can always just win with Dundozo Tatsugiri in most matchups, especially with how timer works. There's some games where you can legitimately just throw out Dundozo Tatsugiri and this auto win because your opponent never has a way to break it. And because of that, there's such a consistency that Dundozo Tatsugiri can get, especially on ladder, that it's this very much unmatched by I think almost any other archetype. And funny enough, the other archetype that we see here is a side spam, which side spam is another thing that has a lot of pure aggressive power to it. And notably, we actually see Hiroshi using Palafin with a choice scarf with flip turn into armor rogue is a kind of a little bit of a setup to itself. So you can essentially flip turn off your Arbor Rogue, activate Weakness Pulse, activate Weak Armor, go into your Indeedee, and then click Expanding Force, which is a very powerful way to just take over a game, and it's what makes that team really interesting, right? And then other than that, we see, I think the other thing I want to point out is Toxic Spikes. We'll look at the rental codes later, but there's this presence of Toxic Spikes through the first place Meowscarada, and there's Toxic Spikes through Glimmera's ability, and that's a very interesting thing as well. We see a Mimikyu. We do see a lot of Dragonites though. Dragonite seems to be a bit of a development across the board through these Dundozo Tatsugiri teams. So many of these teams choosing to ultimately go the Dundozo Tatsugiri route with that. And then we also see Baxcalibur in the 10th spot, using Indeedee, Armor Rogue, Meowscarada, Volcarona, Garchomp as well to kind of supplement that. But yeah, a lot of the concept here you'll see is just a lot of very powerful Pokemon that next to you you just have with little Formon core. You see this with Talonflame 1 with Suika, you have the Talonflame Golden Go Dragonite Meowscarada. So you always have this Formon Tailwind core that can blow up most teams because of this how powerful mons like Meowscarada are. And that's why a lot of these teams choose to use Meowscarada ultimately. It's because you always have so much more power in this metagame when you have a Meowscarada, because there's very few things that can actually deal with it first, right? The main things that actually deal with Meowscarada are Pokemon like Talonflame and Kilowattrel that are faster. But then other than that, you really just don't have a good way to consistently deal with Meowscarada, which makes Meowscarada always the Pokemon on these Dundozo Tatsugiri teams. And we'll see basically all of them tend to use it, and we do see one that doesn't actually use it, where it's choosing to use Terragrass Glimmora instead, which is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool adjustment. But yeah, that's for that. There's some other interesting teams as well. We'll go through we'll see Shuli with Annihilate, kind of side spam Torkoal, and then you have the Annihilate Mousehold mode. And then we also have another Dundozo Tatsugiri team, but instead of Meowscarada actually choosing to use Mousehold. Mousehold's a mon with similarly great offensive presence, so it's not the craziest thing in the world, but it is cool to see. But yeah, this is the Shuli's team actually using Weak Armor on Armor Rogue and beat up Mousehold to proc, and then Final Gambit Annihilate. And that's another thing worth talking about with teams like this, right? It's very hard to have the guess the right sets, and you see interesting options like Mirror Herb as well and Trick Room Skill Swap. So I'm glad that we actually look at this. There's a lot of very interesting sets around here too. Yeah, back to look here. Got Alta, another Glamora team. Nevermind VGC with the Belly Bolt. Pokespace 2. Nagisa 154 with the Palafin Meowscarada. King Gambit. Yuki Rotom with the Hard Trick Room Glade team. It's surely Hard Trick Room this time, I swear it's not. And then we see like a few Dragapults as well. Pokeball, I'm also using it with the Choice Band Dragapult set with like Terra Ghost. I believe we actually have the rental for this. Let me see. I believe we have the rental. Yeah, I think we do. Oh. But yeah, very cool team. Oh no, we don't have the ID for it though. And that's, some of these will have ID, some of these won't. This is how it be. But yeah, it's this Choice Band Terra Ghost Dragapult. And you have the Indeedee, the King Gambit, the Dragonite with Terra Flying with Weakness Policy. Which, that's not really the most common set in the world, but with like Terra Blast, you thread a surprisingly amount of like offensive damage here, right? And you'll also notice that the Indeedee is not Psychic terrain. It is instead Fake Out, Follow Me, Helping Hand, Trick Room, I believe. If my knowledge of Japanese text is correct. But yeah, and then the King Gambit is this Kowtow, Cleave, Sucker Punch, Iron Head, and Brick Break. The Dragapult is Dragon Darts, Phantom Force, U-Turn, and Terra Blast. And then you got Terra Blast, Weakness Policy, Dragonite as well. Like, there's a lot of like very interesting sets here, and it's cool to see it like do as well as it did, right? And you also see a Sash, Armrogue with Armor Cannon, Wide Guard, Clear Smog, and actually no, I think, yeah, it is Expanding Force, right? Cool to see. Yeah, we can like go through Gahaku with the Vaporeon as well. There's a lot of like very cool teams that you always will see at the from a lot of competitive players for the ranked ladder season. Yeah, Gahaku having an interesting team, a very offensive team, and then just having Vaporeon as like a guaranteed Dondozo check, because Vaporeon essentially allows you to just have Haze, and then you just have all these like offensive mons layered next to it. So like, you don't ever have to bring Vaporeon, but when you do, it's gonna like be very annoying for those Dondozo Tatsugiri teams, just with Haze. Then we can start looking at like some of the top teams, because I do know like a few of them actually did post their teams. Like, I do believe Penguin, we have the rental for that one. So we can look at that real quick. And then just... But yeah, this is a #1 ranked team, and you can use this rental code for it as well. Notably, you see this order up Wave Crash, Substitute Protect, and you have the Terra Dragon on the Dondozo. You have the Toxic Spikes Meowscarada, which is pretty notable. And then from there, you have a bit more standard sets. And it's still pretty cool to see regardless. As you also see a supportive Volcarona, I think is the last thing worth mentioning here, is with like Overheat, Rage Powder, Sugar Bug, and Protect with the Rocky Helmet to kind of like help facilitate you. If you're against a mouse, hold you this Rage Powder and it will die, for example. And then you also see a good old Baxcalibur, Choice Specs, Golden Go. Pretty cool sets all around. I think from there, I'll actually like... It's a weird way to search through it, but I actually did go through a lot of these teams in the morning when I had the chance, and just like liked a bunch of them. And that's why I went to Shuli's page, was just to check that. We had the #3 team from Hirofumi, and you'll see this here. You get the Armorogue, Indeedee. As I said, it's Weakness Policy, you self-proc, and then you just like go back to your Indeedee, quick Expanding Force. This is actually a concept that we covered that Ray Rizzo actually showed off a bit. And this one really like takes it, I would say, like a step kind of farther, right? Because you have like this AV Garchomp, you have like a Salamence too with the Intimidate. You also have the Threat Spray Sylveon, so you have a lot of other ways to get pressure off too. And you can like still bring back Palafin in after getting the proc, go into a Salamence, get the Intimidate down instead if you so need, so you don't have to worry about like the negative effect of a weak armor, for example. And notably, it also has a Terra Dark on Armorogue, which I think is a very interesting set on this, because like a part of me kind of thinks you would still want to be like, if you Terra, you still want to be like weak to flip turn, so maybe fire is better, but also like Terra Dark on Armor Rogue is like a deceptively great defensive typing, because like the only typings that really hit Dark super effectively are this like Bug Fighting Fairy. And like Bug and Fighting in particular are two typings that you'll just get a KO on with your Expanding Forces, right? So those aren't like as concerning at all, because you can just go like Flip Turn and you just Expanding Force and you'll just KO any fighting type that's even attempting to go for a KO on you. So it doesn't really make too much of a difference. And also like Terra Dark gives you some other interesting benefits too. And it does have Wide Guard as well, which is cool because you can like Wide Guard next to your own Garchomp. And you can just Wide Guard block a lot of like annoying moves if you aren't going this for like the Expanding Forces complete win con kind of strat. And overall, this is a very cool team to see finish in 3rd place in this ranked ladder season. But yeah, this is definitely a weird way to do it, but it works, it works. We also have Nevermind VGC. This team, we were able to show it a little bit just through the image, and you probably saw that Belly Bolt team and you're like, I kind of wish to see that, right? But unfortunately, the rental code is not up, as they do say this here in the reply there. But there's no rental code for this, even though there's an ID right there. It will not work. It will not work at all. I've tried it. And they also say that there. But overall, I think the basic idea is kind of similar to the Belly Bolt team that we showed you, that I showed on this channel early on. Essentially, you have Terra Ground Bronzong. Next to Belly Bolt, you quick Bulldoze, you proc Weakness Policy, and then you spam Discharge and you take over a game. And this one's a bit better constructed than the team that I made initially, of course, because like you also have an E button and Mungus, so you can like guarantee a Trick Room off that. Then you like go out the Belly Bolt and with the Bronzong too, and the Bronzong has a much more supportive moveset, which I think is a fair bit better too. And it also has like a strong offensive mode thanks to like Floatzel. And if you don't know, Floatzel's actually like a pretty scary Pokemon, because thanks to having access to Wave Crash now, it's actually one of the better Swift Swimmers, because it actually threatens like sizable damage, and having like a decent speed stat and a better defensive typing than Mon like Dreadnought, for example, gives it like an actual like very real niche in this metagame. And you also see Baxcalibur there too as a way to like shore up the team and give you an answer to Garchomp. Because you notice with like Belly Bolt, you really want to be just hitting with those electric attacks, right? So if someone just has a Garchomp, then you're like, oh, well, I guess I lose. So Baxcalibur is just a way to really like shore that up and make that whole setup kind of work in general. And yeah, we'll just keep it going and keep it going. And we also get to see Ken Poko's team. I won't click on the blog link, but you can see it here. It's this Flower Trick knockoff Toxic Spikes. Get the specs, get the Dragon Fang. And, oh wait, no, this is like this is actually the report where they just gathered it. So that's the rank 1 team. And you see the rank 5 team as well. They don't have everything here, of course, but it is a fair bit. You can see the rank 5 team here with the Volcarona Dragonite of the Choice Band. This Terra Flying as well. You'll notice like Terra Flying is getting a little bit more uses on Dragonite, because like E-Speed is still very powerful and Terra Normal is still very powerful. But also consider this the ability to go Terra Flying, because this guarantees very, very powerful offensive damage because of double stab. Because Dragonite's already initially a flying type, but Dragonite doesn't have any like good flying type moves, right? So if you Terastallize and go Terra Blast, you actually can take advantage of this a fair bit better and start actually getting like very powerful offensive hits in. Let me see. But yeah, it's just a fair bit stronger of an option in general to actually like pull off and get like decent options going and get a decent amount of power. And you also see a kind of standard sets otherwise. King Gambit choosing to have a fighting move in I think that's Brick Break instead of having Iron Head, which I think is very fair, because like the main annoying mons are mons like that you just like Meowscrata and stuff. So it's like just having the fighting move to break those and just be annoying in a different way is like pretty cool. Yeah, we can keep it going. We have the 6th place team. I won't go in too far detail with this, but I will like open a lot of these just so you guys can see it, right? Get it there. We got Suika's team. I'll talk more over like Oh yeah, this one, Life Orb Talonflame. And this is actually another important presence, is this instead of having Covert Cloak, having Life Orb is actually fairly important on Talonflame because it actually allows the KO on Golden Go. There's a lot of people choosing to use like Covert Cloak, sometimes even safety goggles. But the thing is, if you with like Life Orb or like an Expert Belt, for example, you're actually able to get the KO on Golden Go, and that is like very valuable for a team like this, right? Because you see like the E-Speed, you see the Terraflying Dragonite. There's not really a great way to deal with Golden Go. So having your Talonflame, this trade for Golden Go is like generally what you want to play for, and that's exactly what this team goes for. So it can this force a trade against Golden Go, get rid of it instantly, and deal with it that way. And this one we see the Arcanine with Citrus Berry, no ID there. And this is where we see some like Glamoras like pop up a fair bit. Like we got Power Gem, Sludge Bomb, the good old Mortal Spin, Energy Ball, Glamora, Terra Grass. And the thing about Glamora that makes it kind of cool, right, for Dondozo, is against like opposing Dondozo, and we saw this like the rank 1 team where they were using Toxic Spikes to set up their Dondozo win con, is if you have Mortal Debris and you have your Toxic activated, you just get T-Spikes down, you get the poison down, and your Dondozo has a very much a better chance of winning the mirror. Especially with like especially against like non-rest variants, you'll just have a quicker time stalling them out, so they can't like sub-block you for a long time. And then you got good old AV Kingambit, and once again the Terraflying CB Dragonite, Terra Blast Flying, very powerful move. And this one we actually see, I believe that's Dragon Claw EQ, Stomping Tantrum, Protect. So they're choosing to use multiple ground moves instead of using a Rock Slide, because they have the ability to take advantage of this go through wide guards and get a single target ground move off, and that's like fairly strong. And also, wait, that's Bulldoze. I'm pretty sure that's Bulldoze actually. They have Bulldoze for like reduce speed and kind of this proc their own Glamora, I think. But yeah, this is a pretty cool team overall. We have Cobalt at the 19th place. And thanks to Ken Polk for ultimately like categorizing some of this so I can go over it a bit better. And also apologies about these being in Japanese. These are Japanese rentals, so I can only go over. I do tend to know like most of this anyway, so I can still go over it at least for you guys. And once you actually enter the rental code in game, they will be in English. So if you have any like questions on the specific team, because ultimately I don't have the hours it would take to go through every 100 team and give you like every move on everything, but I can at least like I can translate most of these pretty well, so I'll continue to do so, right? But yeah, this is a Wave Crash, EQ, Sub, Protect, and Dozo, which is really the other kind of like offensive Dozo set that you can occasionally see. You also see Flower Trick, Knockoff, Sucker Punch on the Meowscarada. And once again, we're seeing this trend pop up a bit more, is of Dragonites being Terra Flying with Terra Blast instead of being Terra Normal. And again, I think this is a very unique / cool concept, especially with like Dondozo Tatsugiri teams, because Terra Flying allows you to both eliminate a Moongus, and it's just a ridiculously powerful stab move on itself. Because like as cool as Terra Normal is, it's a set that's designed to like break off weakened targets. And with a team like this, there's not really too much that creates the targets to forces a target to become weaker, so that you can break it with E-Speed. And since you don't have the move like Chen Pao, right, your E-Speeds are kind of not getting the KOs that you would want them to get like maximum value. Though alternatively, we actually see the Arcanine choose to be the Terra Normal E-Speed user on this team instead, where it has Flare Blitz, CC, E-Speed, Protect, and basically the similar kind of idea. And Arcanine kind of also acts as a Golden Go check, which is very important. But like you'll notice with like Dondozo Tatsugiri, it's very annoying to have like a mono like Golden Go this quick Shadow Ball and you like 10 times and get like a Spadef drop. Stuff like that can be like slightly annoying. And also this having like fire move to kind of like this lead off Arcanine into like Murkrow and Golden Go is pretty safe as well. And that's like one of the main things that makes it like really viable into that kind of concept. Okay, no rental for this one. Gene, Ra. I'm trying to see if like I actually should talk about that, but a lot of these teams are fairly similar in construction, so I don't want to take too much time because there is a lot we have to go over, right? Okay, so we do see a Dondozo Tatsugiri team. Though this one, I mean a Tyranitar Lycanroc team, but it also has some of those. But yeah, the interesting thing here is I think I should also point out that Terra Flying is also something that does exist a bit more on Dondozo, because some people were trying to get smart by using a Fisher as a way to check Dondozo, right? So the Dondozo players adapt back by this being Terra Flying and winning it through that way. And then you also see Annihilate with a Citrus Berry instead of the leftovers because Dondozo has it, but it is actually the Rage Fist, Drain Punch, Bulk Up, Protect spread instead of the Final Gambit spread, which I think is pretty cool because, like, on this kind of construction, the first thing I expect is the Final Gambit spread. But for this to be Drain Punch and Bulk Up, Rage Fist creates a different kind of scenario where you have to play through, and you also start to not expect the Tatsugiri to be like Choice Scarf anymore because you expect the Annihilate to have the Choice Scarf for Final Gambit. So that's a cool way to like really mix up expectations, I would say. And let me see. A little Tatsu, some more Glamoras. Oh, this one we actually see Palmut. And this is something that's not really gotten the most play, right? Palmut plus Dondozo Tatsugiri has been creeping around. It actually did win a Victory Road tournament, but overall isn't like as frequent as you would think. But in general, you just have Fake Out, Double Shock. Oh, this one's actually a different set. I think it's Double Shock, Nuzzle, CC, and Revival's Blessing, if I had to guess. But in general, yeah, this have the ability to take care of like Revival's Blessing. You revive your Dondozo, and you can make games like very annoying through that. And this we actually see an interesting set on like Arcanine, where it's choosing to run a Clear Amulet, so it can like guarantee that its E-Speed will always do a consistent amount of damage, very similar to having like Inner Focus on Dragonite that's in an item slot instead. I think that's the most I can talk about there. Also see this one with Light Koi Sableye. Though this is another Dondozo team I will talk about in the sense that, oh, you have Light Koi, you activate Light Koi, get the Reflect Light Screen down, and it's a Ghost Dark type, so it's not weak to Steel like Grimmsnarl is, giving it like a very viable niche case over Grimm. And you can also run moves like Encore on Sableye that kind of give it a way to this be a very unique Pokemon. We also see an interesting item on the Glamora where it's choosing to run like Red Card instead. And if you don't know, Red Card is an older item that was introduced where if you hit the Mon with the Red Card, your Mon will be automatically switched out, giving it a very interesting kind of use case. For sure. And then we also see the lefties on the Annihilate this time, and a different item on the Dondozo instead. And let's see. Yeah, we already went over the Dolphin team, but we can look at it again. Yeah, Dolphin man. But yeah, Choice Scarf, Flip Turn, Proc. Oh, another Dolphin. This one with like Mystic Water. And that's a very potent set that can just take over games. This Palafin's Pure Power, and you see once again Terra Flying on a Dragonite, so it can take advantage of Double Stab, and giving Dragonite a Flying Stab move is kind of crazy. Because again, that's something that Dragonite this like sorely kind of lacks, right? Normally. And we also see Terra Blast Fairy on a King Gambit, which is a set that I believe Joe UX9 actually used earlier on, though he used it with like Assault Vest, so he would still have Iron Head at the same time. So it is a bit different in that sense, but Terra Fairy is definitely a set that's pretty strong. And the reason I really chose to talk about this team in particular is because of the U-turn on Meowscarada and the Choice Scarf. I mean the Choice Scarf U-turn on Meowscarada. Because essentially a Choice Scarf on Meowscarada is so fast that you actually start to outspeed some opposing Pokemon in Tailwind. Like specifically Golden Go is going to underspeed you in Tailwind after like Choice Scarf, especially if they're trying to be a bulkier spread, which most don't full invest in speed. They like half go in, and that's a good way to punch that. And also it gives you a way to like just switch out Palafin and you use U-turn and you just do the standard play through that. And then overall, this is a very cool team. We do get to see the Baxcalibur team. Yep, Baxcalibur, Meowscarlet. Overall, a very cool construction with loaded dice on Baxcalibur as well. And you can see like the multiple layers of support and redirection. That can really just like be very annoying. You have the setup with the backs, you can just have the setup of the Garchomp, and you just have the Volk and the Indeedee, both two mons that are just very supportive. And once again, abuse the power of like Meowscarlet, but this one runs Brick Break instead, which makes it a bit different. And then we do have the Palafin team, but the code doesn't work, unfortunately. Leftovers, Dragapult to be like Phantom Force plus recovery, and actually choosing to be Terra Steel as well, but no rental code there. Grim Bulk, so we got some Grim Bulk stuff here too. In Grim Bulk, essentially this allows you to get the oh, it's actually a different set. I believe that's Fake Out Parting Shot in this like Dark plus Fairy move in Maviri Berry. Interesting team overall though. And then you just have like the Choice Band Arcanine, so it kind of like it alters expectations, right? Because you kind of expect this to have like a lot of bulkier sets, like a bulky Arcanine, a bulky Sylve, but instead it's like Choice Spec Sylveon, and then it's the Choice Band Arcanine, so it's a good way to like really this alter expectations that you may have, and it kind of like changes how you may expect this to play this on team preview in a pretty interesting way. Congrats to them. And we do also see this team as well with a Choice Scarf on Magnezone, and you also see a Salazzle, the Weakness Policy Dragonite, Sylveon, Hydreigon, and Tauros. And like the interesting thing here, of course, is this the it's just a very this hit go in kind of team, but they're using like some interesting facilitators that you normally don't see, like a Scarf on Magnezone, for example, that like trap opponents in with like Terra Flying is not something that's like particularly common, but you can go like Magnezone Salazzle, and it kind of acts as a bit of an anti-lead against Golden Go and Murkrow, because if your opponent tries to lead Golden Go Murkrow into you, you have the Magnet Pull, so you trap them in, and then your Salazzle can just OHKO the Golden Go, and then you can also just go for a KO on the Murkrow as well, thanks to your Magnezone. So you kind of cover both bases with that one lead, which is a very funny kind of scenario. Notably, it is a bit like Garchomp Week, for example, but it is nonetheless a very cool kind of concept to see, especially when you do this well, right? And you see like Weakness Policy Dragonite as well, though this one where we actually go back to the Terra Normal E-Speed, which is still a very good set. A very good set overall. We have Ko's team. There's another player using the kind of... Actually, it's the same as the team we saw earlier. We can look at Snow's team as well, where they're actually... Basically, they took away the Paris mode that they were running before. And this like went full in on... They took away the Paris mode they were running before and went like full in on this having like the offensive part of their mode and this dropping the rest of it. So like before, this team had like Gothitelle and Azumarill, but it is completely foregoed now, and instead using Rocky Helmet, Friend Guard Mouse plus an Annihilate with Bulk Up and Drain Punch in that set. But the rest of the team is pretty much the same. Some different item choices from when it was a Paris Trap team as well, but overall the concept is similar, but except now you're just going for like more offensive options. So a cool team to see from Snow there. We also see Mr. Takoyaki here too. And this one's pretty cool. You go, there's a lot of offensive mons in ways that you don't expect, right? Like you have the Mirror Herb on Meowscarlet. So if your opponent has Dundozo Tatsugiri, right? You activate your Mirror Herb, and then you're the perfect counter. And we also see Iron Fist Palmut instead of Revival Blessing, so it's another mon that's offensive in a way you don't expect because of Ice Punch. And why I'm pointing this out as well is this way, you see the Dragapult with the Choice Band Terra Dragon, you see the Volcarona just foregoing Quiver Dance at all and going Choice Specs Terra Fire, And you also see the weakness Pulsey Dragonite with the Terra Normal E-Speed. So instead of like what you would expect looking at this, right? Like you could expect items like support of Volcarona, you could expect like Quiver Dance, setup Volk, you could expect stuff like that. And like the sash on, you could expect like Choice Band on Meowscarlet instead, and maybe set up Dragapult. And all of that is just like not what's actually going on with this team. So it kind of like bluffs what you think it would do, in the sense that all these sets are a lot more offensive than you may think they are. And that's a cool way to take over a game thanks to a surprise like that, right? And we also fun teams as well, even though there's no rental. We do see a little Appletoon Houndstone team. Let's go Appletoon. But yeah, no rental, so I can't read. Oh, this team's kind of cool. We have a triple starter team featuring Skeldurge with choice specs, Quaquaval with Mystic Water, Terra Water. We get the Dragonite, Terra Normal E-Speed, King Gambit, Meowscarlet, and then Dragapult. Overall, the sets are fairly standard, other than the Dragapult is a special set, and the choice specs on Skeldurge is also a bit surprising. Normally, you don't see spec Skeldurge, but essentially, this having the ability to spam Torch Song is still pretty strong. Yeah, cool to see a triple starter team do as well as it did. And finally, for the last team, we can just look at Royd's team, where it's this Annihilate Choice Scarf plus Tyranitar Lycanroc, and this a lot of damage through that. Overall, a pretty cool concept. Pretty cool concept indeed. And I believe that's like all the teams we really have to go over for now. But yeah, there's still going to be a lot of teams that are going to be releasing in the coming hours and day, I imagine. But we go over what we can, right? We go over what we can. But yeah, it's overall pretty cool to see like the results be the way they are. Oh, we can look at the number 74 team actually. This one was one I saw, or essentially they had Flamingo, but Belly Drum. They had like a lot of interesting sets, right? And they're using Flamingo more for its like offensive prowess than its like setup, and it's like a pretty interesting way to go about it for sure. And overall, a fairly decent one, because they did actually perform very well with this team, right? 74, that's a very high ranking. So it's cool to see this team do well, and Flamingo completely detached from the Dendozo Tatsugiri difference, and instead this being like its own offensive standalone team. So that's pretty cool to see. And Take Grand using Palafin, Rain, but ultimately did not have a rental. Is this team? Oh, yeah, we looked at that already. Yeah, that's all the rentals I have for today, I think. I think. But yeah, I'll try to like compile as much as I talked about in the description. I'll actually just like straight up link this blog by Kenpoke, and I'll link the page on Liberty Note, because this has like a very decent compiling of the teams. So I'll just link to these first. And yeah, that's it for today's video. I just want to like talk about as many of the ranked ladder teams as possible, and that's exactly what we did, you know. If you like this kind of content, let me know. Or this any other like ranked teams that you want to like talk about or like mention, or you think probably should have been mentioned, you can like link them in the description. Or any like rental teams that were made after this video was published, because you know there probably will be a lot more teams up. And also, I do want to say as well, thank you all for watching, and of course, we will be doing a stream for the San Diego Regional Championships this weekend. So if you want to like watch us kind of like review San Diego and like look over how like the first major VGC live event in the West is gonna go, you can watch us there. We'll have a lot of battles, we have a lot of content there, and we'll also be doing ranked ladder games with the team on our Twitch channel, and those will later be up on YouTube as well. Thank you all. Goodbye.